Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Here's a short excerpt from a video by Fox News by Maria Bartiromo concerning Trump and maybe his hires if and when he becomes president again. Acknowledging some mistakes he made. That's one of my biggest criticisms of Trump in his first term is the fact that he made some really, really bad personnel choices. And I'm a big Trump supporter, and I say that. Yeah, he was new. He wasn't part of Washington society or the elite. And he took advice from rhinos, neocons. I mean, look at how Nikki Haley turned out. There's a whole bunch of people that maybe Trump shouldn't have hired. One thing about President Trump, though, both good and bad, he never makes the same major mistake again. And this won't happen. So let's take a listen.
Announce who your VP is.
Not for a while. I mean, we have so many great people in the Republican Party, but not for a while.
Well, what criteria are you using to identify who your running mate is?
Always, it's got to be one thing. It's got to be who would be a good president. I mean, you always have to think that because, in case of emergency, things happen, right? No matter who you are, things happen. It's got to be number one.
Who is your running mate?
Well, I have a lot of good people. We have a lot of really good people.
So you haven't decided who it is?
I have a lot of good ideas, but I haven't. And there's no reason to do that quickly.
So you haven't told that person, you're my person?
I speak to everybody. I called Tim Scott because a lot of people like Tim Scott. I called him and I said, you're a much better candidate for me than you are for yourself. When I watched Tim, he was fine. He was good, but he was very low-key, et cetera, et cetera. I watched him in the last week defending me and sticking up for me and fighting for me. I said, you're a much better person for me than you are for yourself.
Actually, it's kind of funny because it's true. Yeah, Tim Scott's got a personality that's pretty low-key. And the fact of the matter is, he's a polar opposite candidate from, as far as personality goes, than President Trump. Now, my thoughts on the VP is this. Trump has to be the alpha male in the room. It's just the way it is. That's his personality. He's always been like that for decades. His choice will be a male that's not as boisterous, not as upfront, not as me, or a woman who can be just like Trump personality-wise, but a woman. He has to be the alpha male in the room. That's just the way his personality is. It's part of his generational thinking. It's not him personally. That's just the way older males think, especially ones that have been extremely successful. And that's just my thoughts on that. So let's take a look to some of the rest of the interview.
For himself, he was low-key. For me, he's been a real tiger. He's been incredible. And others have too.
So maybe it's Tim Scott.
Well, it could be a lot of people. But it was interesting. I was watching Tim. I've been watching, for a while. I watched him campaign as a candidate. But I watched him over the last 2 weeks. As you know, he endorsed me, fully endorsed me, gave me a beautiful endorsement. And he has been really strong in terms of that. No, but that has nothing to do. I don't want anybody to take even any inference. But it's incredible. Kristi Noem has been incredible fighting for me. She said, I'd never run against him because I can't beat him. That was a very nice thing to say.
What was the story that your team reached out to RFK Jr.?
It's a false story. No, it's a false story.
You never reached out to RFK Jr.?
I like him a lot. Nope, never happened.
Is it fair?
No, I believe that. RFK Jr. says a lot of things that I agree with. You shouldn't like a person because you disagree with them or agree with them. He's just way too liberal. Gun control, health care, many other things. He's way too far to the left to be Trump's VP, even though that would have been a fascinating pairing. I believe him when he says he never reached out to him. Now, he might have reached out his people just to shoot the breeze and touch base with him, pick his brain a little bit, because he is a sharp guy. But to put him on the short list for VP, I actually believe the fact that. But to put him on the short list for VP, no, that didn't happen.
I believe that you would have a number of your former officials in your new cabinet?
I will put some back. I'll tell you, I came to Washington
Well, we know one that won't come back is Nikki Haley.
having spent almost no time in my life in Washington.
I know, you said
And
it.
all of a sudden I'm president. And I wasn't into Washington society. So I was not a Washington, I was a New York person. I was a New York builder.
Well,
and-
you were
and
an
other-
outsider, and that's why
I was a
think they had
totally
it in for
outsider.
you.
But the one problem with that, and I love the outsider thing, but you don't know people, so you're relying on other people to give you names to be the head of this, head of that.
And there's the mistake that he made. Now, what other choice did he really have? Who could he go to? I mean, he believed Matt Ryan would end up being a waste of oxygen and a bad rhino. He's absolutely right. But what else could he have done? It's a huge learning curve. Huge learning curve to be president of the United States. Can you imagine? It's incredible. But the fact of the matter is, he relied on other people to submit names for cabinet posts, other positions, and a lot of them didn't work out very well. Some of them he fired, some of them he didn't. But he learned a lot. He learned a ton. And I think he's going to get a lot more what I call loyalists on the next cabinet. We'll have to see.
And by the way, we had unbelievable people. We had to, look, I rebuilt
Yeah,
the
but
military.
your critics say you had plenty of personnel mistakes.
No, of course, but everybody does. Obama had. What about Biden? Look at the people running this Biden thing. The difference is I fire people. I fired Comey. I got rid of him.
You didn't fire Christopher Wray.
Well,
You hired him.
you know what? At the time, I don't know. Let's see what the final judgment is. But I didn't.
Yeah, she right too. I'll give Maria that. I mean, she gets along with President Trump fine, you can tell, personally. But that's a tough question for Trump. I mean, he's got a pretty good ego. I'm a huge Trump fan. But she goes, you didn't fire Christopher Wray. And he says, well, we'll wait judgment on that. And I really and truly wonder what the deal is with Christopher Wray and why he didn't fire him and why he's not bad-mouthing him now. I find that fascinating. Maybe there's something we just don't know what's going on. We'll have to see. More palace intrigue.
didn't fire Christopher Wray. I didn't fire people I would have, but I fired a lot of people. You know, I had turnover. They have no turnover right now.
How do you know if you get back in, you don't have a network of people around you working against you?
I will, and so will anybody else that gets in as a Republican. These people are sick. These are sick people.
And that's the real point of it. Hundreds, if not thousands, of federal employees in all the departments working against the sitting president of the United States. A lot of them Obama hires or Obama appointees that can't be fired. He's going to have to go through that, and that's the real challenge. Take out all the people that supposedly work for you or the White House that stand in your way on every single policy point you have, and do everything in their power to make sure your policies don't work and you fail. That's crazy. That's like a CEO of a corporation will say, Tesla, we'll use Elon Musk, and everybody on the manufacturing floor and all the engineers are doing everything possible to make sure that Tesla fails. How the hell can you run a place like that? So we're going to have to see. Well, what I would do is I would build, as he says, 2 big, huge, beautiful buildings, put all these pieces of crap in it, counting paper clips because you can't fire them, and let them sit there all day long counting paper clips until they get their pension. That's what I would do if you can't fire them. But we're going to have to see.
But do you feel better this time around because you know what to expect?
Well, I also know people that I didn't know before. I know now the smart ones. I know the dumb ones. I know the weak ones and the strong ones. I know tremendous amounts of people that I know will do a great job. But
I know the smart ones and I know the dumb ones. I know the weak ones and I know the strong ones. That's an excellent point. Excellent point. I think his personnel choices, if he wins the presidency again, will be 10 times, 100 times better than before. And then to get rid of a lot of the deep state people that are working against the White House and his policies, plus really good hires, I think he'll hit the ground running. I mean, it's very unusual. It's only happened once in the history of the country where a person was president, skipped a term and became president again. But you get to hit the ground running because you know already how to do the job and how not to do the job.
Different. When I didn't like a job that somebody was done, I fired them, just like The Apprentice. I said, you're fired. You have to go.
What about some of your former officials? Do you see them being in this next cabinet? Mike Pompeo, for example.
I don't know.
John Ratcliffe?
He's fantastic. I mean, he's a great guy. John Ratcliffe has done a great job.
Dr. Ben Carson?
He's done a fantastic job.
So you're expecting them to be in your cabinet?
Some of them, yeah. I mean, if somebody did a good job, I would do that, yeah.
And there you have it. And there you have it. An excerpt from an exclusive interview on Fox with President Trump and Maria Bartiromo, excuse me. Even though I'm Italian, sometimes you stumble over the words. And I thought he was pretty open. Now, he's keeping close to the vest, of course, his VP pick and or any of his major cabinet hires. I get that. Because he's shot himself in the foot and got stabbed in the back both. And this is a very unique situation where a former president has been out of office for 4 years and then comes back as president. And knowing all the things that are right and wrong about hiring, I mean, he'll tell you throughout his real estate development and his years in real estate development, hiring the best and the right people is paramount important. Number one, get the best people you can get. And he learned that. He relied on other people because he's new. Like you said, in Washington society, he's new. He was new to a lot of things in government. And it was a huge learning curve. And then COVID came in the fourth year of his first term, which put a monkey wrench into everything. We can go into the doctors that he wanted. I won't even say the names. They'll screw up the algorithm of the video. And all those terrible choices he made. But what else could he do? He was in a box. And he thought he made the right call. Hindsight is 20/20. We can all be what they call, Americans call, for those of you overseas, listen to this, Monday morning quarterbacking, which means it's great the next day after the big game to say what you would have done instead. But I think he really and truly learned his mistakes. Keep very smart, intelligent, dedicated loyalists. Start working on getting rid of the deep state, what he calls sick people, and they are. Those two things will catapult him immediately from day one, the day he's sworn in. I'm sure there will be a stack of executive orders on his desk in the Oval, walking right from the swearing in to the Oval, and he'll sign them all for the cameras. Make a point of it. I have zero doubt. And he will do a lot better in the interim. Remember, he's got almost 2 months to pick his people. And it will be a lot more streamlined, and the show will be shorter, but the list will be better. I have zero doubt that he will hit the ground running at 100 miles an hour with all the right people lined up. So those are my thoughts on this short interview concerning President Trump's second term. What do you think? Until the next time, God bless, goodbye, and good luck.